just counting the promises. Because the import of what we are doing is to transform this country beyond aid and debt into a safe, secure nation with a healthy, skilled manpower base, driving diversification for opportunities and incomes with modern technology within appropriate legal framework, whilst maintaining good economic international relations to support world peace and stability. The NPP believes an NPP government generates genuine, better choices when we are in charge. The governments produced by the NPP in the Fourth Republic have been forward-looking, decisive, and growth-oriented. The Kufuor government inherited unsustainable debt, a country in HIPIC, and after several years of IMF supervision and World Bank support to that NDC government, we were compelled to declare HIPIC formally. That situation, the Kufuor NPP-led government reversed within 8 years. Debt drastically reduced, lower middle income status was achieved, we found oil, there was substantial investment in roads, we revamped the cocoa sector, we expanded the banking sector, including the successful launch of our first Eurobond, and we established several social interventions, especially free maternal health care and school feeding, as well as grounding the national health insurance and youth employment schemes. Of course, the Kufuor government also saw off the IMF and the World Bank. Unfortunately, voters opted for discontinuity and revolved power back to the NDC in 2008. As vice president, head of the economic management team, and then president, and now retired president and NDC candidate, John Mahama enjoyed the benefit of Kufuor's new oil economy and previous progressive policies in the cocoa sector, which meant that growth went up in 2011 to as high as 14%. The overlap from his policies, Kufuor's good policies. Yet 2 years down the line, through sheer incompetence, mismanagement, and greed, John Mahama took Ghana back to the IMF with the economy in tatters. Voter wisdom handed the country back to the NADO-led NPP government with a resounding victory and very high expectations. Admittedly, within 3 years, not all the expectations have been met, but our program offers hope. High hopes of a very strong economy within the medium to long term. Apart from the incompetent, reckless and greedy create, loot and share style of governance, the NDC, led by the same John Mahama, are currently unable to explain how the John Mahama presidency destroyed the gains of the Kufuor NPP government, much more tell us how it intends to enhance the painful gains being made by the Akufo-Addo NPP government. Arguably, the government was faced with a worse situation than before because the country could not benefit from a debt moratorium through HIPIC. When we took over in 2017, even though we were close to HIPIC, because of our previous status as a middle-income country, we couldn't benefit from HIPIC, which should have been debt forgiveness. We had to fight forward and fight the debt. And that sickness that had been brought back was through reckless mismanagement and incompetence. And we had to get well under very difficult circumstances, with our people all seeking relief very, very quickly. Expectations remain extremely high. However, listening to the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, at a press briefing of barely a week ago, last Friday, 13th December 2019, it was very clear that the president has a vision and he is following that vision with clear-cut programs. This is where the key difference is. You have a president who has a vision that he's following with programs. Contrast that with somebody who has been president before, recklessly mismanaged the country, incompetence and greed held sway, couldn't hold on to the gains that were handed over to him, and now wants to come back without a plan. He's unable to tell us what he's coming to do different that he didn't do before. But we have a plan, and the NPP is solidly behind the president in executing that plan. Listening to the president. First, security. You are all aware of Dagbang, when it happened, and how your mama-led NDC administration was unable to resolve it, and how the president has been able not only to resolve that, but to push ahead an agenda to tackle other major chieftaincy disputes. The president made it very clear that security and development go together to provide stability. And therefore, the peace that has been found in Dagbang is very, very important, to the extent that it frees peacekeeping resources and enables those resources to be invested back in Dagbang for developmental purposes. As you are aware, peace is a prerequisite for development. So, security. And in the security sector, the president has also been bold enough to put together the two major parties to have a dialogue about political violence. It has never happened before. It has never happened before. This is a president with political will, bold enough to say that my party is guilty, the NDC is guilty, you are the two major parties, come together, dialogue, and resolve the violence in politics, sporadic violence that we have in politics. Meanwhile, I'm also going to pass a law so that we get rid of this elections, must win elections at all cost mentality in favor of policies for elections. As we speak now, we haven't heard former president, now candidate Mahama, speak about the inter-party dialogue, whether he likes it or he doesn't like it. We are not aware of his position on the Vigilantism Act and related offenses, Vigilantism and Related Offenses Act that has been passed. Since he made a pronouncement before even learning the facts that he was going to fight us boot for boot and declared himself an expert in electoral variants as far back in Volta region when Iowa's West was going to happen. That he was coming to Accra, he would deliver boot for boot, and if we didn't know, he was an expert in electoral violence. And then he went ahead to air false videos to the international community about what happened in Iowa's West. After the shame of that event, he hasn't spoken about this process that President Akufo-Addo initiated. And the parties have dialogue. We have come to the end of the dialogue. The Short Commission has delivered this report. There's a law that has been passed. It's only recently that we hear him talking about electoral violence when the whole nation has moved on. This is a person who clearly has no plan for us. The president, having dealt with peace, stability, and violence across all fronts, then looks at education and health to establish a skilled manpower base. Perhaps we are not looking at the education sector well. It is the single sector that has received the most reform efforts so far. Apart from free SHS, which is the cornerstone, you have a rule which is bringing a law which is going to make SHS part of basic school. There have also been innovations about enhancing tertiary education, including technical tertiary education, revamping several campi with investments, very high investments, as well as changes on the teacher professionalism front, certification, licensing, and otherwise, and then enhancing the learning environment, curricular changes, and otherwise. So these are all designed to build a resilient labor force so that we can move into the future with confidence. Above all, another innovation, Get Fund revenues have been securitized, and upfront, a sum of 1.5 billion borrowed to invest in infrastructure to complement the reforms that are ongoing. Now, contractors within the education sector are paid and paid on time. Then you come to almighty economy. The president observed that though you don't like the fundamentals, they are the cornerstone, and it is the fundamentals that move an economy in the right direction. In this case, as you are aware, we had an economy with a debt overhang on the verge of collapse from energy debts, arrears to contractors and service providers, and weak regulation of the financial sector. Persistent doomsday had brought the large informal sector to its knees. Interest rates were skyrocketing whilst the cedi was coming down. Burdensome nuisance taxes were crippling small and micro-scale operators. Galamsey was in free fall, and the country was fast running out of edible water for human consumption. With a strong will and prudent management, the fundamentals are all now pointed in the right direction. Indeed, the NPP commends the president for being bold and decisive. No doubt, tackling some of the ills we inherited has resulted in short-term difficulties for some of the people, and we will hide from that fact. We know, for example, that measures to streamline and move artisanal mining onto a legal plane, including law reform, is yet to take full effect, and therefore the communities where illegal mining, Galamsey used to dominate before, are heavily impacted by the reforms. We know that for a fact. We know that there are some Ghanaians who have been impacted in the short term negatively by these reforms, which in the medium to long term will benefit a greater majority of Ghanaians. And we are working very hard to get up to speed to resolve those difficulties. Restoration on a legal basis is a matter of time, a very short time, because laws have now been passed which have enhanced the legal environment, and we are implementing the processes. It is the same with the financial sector cleanup. Given a little time, all the depositors who have been protected will see value for what has been done. But at least your mama should be bold enough to tell us why he presided over that rot, how and why he stood by for depositors' funds to turn into ashes, and what he is going to do, if ever, and I doubt if Ghanaians will afford him that opportunity to come back, because he has no plan for the financial sector. Not that I have heard one so far, and I doubt if you have heard any. The NPP is particularly pleased with the government's ability to keep the lights on, in spite of the major financial issues in the energy sector. As you are aware, legacy debt is being paid, whilst the John Mahama regime inspired burdensome take-or-pay contracts, committing government to pay millions of dollars every month for unused capacity. Now, as we speak, those contracts are being renegotiated. The unfortunate thing is that the NDC took advantage of the whole nation in crisis to create such debt-rich schemes out of doomsday. You knew the country was in crisis, and in trying to secure the crisis, you created contracts which rather cheated the country of its mega resources. Happily, the lights are on. We are keeping the lights on. We are on track, and we are renegotiating some of those take-or-pay contracts. Now, the most interesting thing about the Ghanaian economy, everybody talks about diversification, because all our money comes from cocoa and a little gold, and the timber is now disappeared, and some non-traditional exports. Essentially, the revenue is not enough to deal with the issues that we have. And so all the advice we get from foreign sources as well as local sources is diversification. And now, as we speak, the angles the president is taking are likely to diversify this economy for a long term. If asked about the cedi, the president will tell you that it is because we are structurally weak. That's why the cedi is sliding. But if we diversify and we create opportunities that will bring in the dollar, then we will stabilize the cedi. And the first area where we are achieving major success is the agro-business sector, where planting for food and jobs, planting for export and rural development, rearing for food and jobs, and the promotion of identified free crops have taken strong root and are performing marvelously well, to the extent that there are grains that we have stopped importing. Now the hope is that raw materials will be available for 1D, 1F in order for processing and value addition to take place, to increase jobs and incomes at rural level, enhance quality of life there, and of course that means reduce rural urban drift. 1D, 1F is not only about numbers. It's not about how many factories we put up before the 4 years. It's about the concept and its implementation and its ability to diversify the economy in the medium to long term. Because the more small factories we have, the less post-harvest losses we will have, the more jobs we will create at local level, the more stable farm gate prices will be, the more incomes will be made, and the more taxes government can take. So the concept of 1D, 1F is designed to create sustainable jobs over the long term and modernize our rural areas. The numbers will keep increasing as we go forward. The diamond in our cap as we go for Congress this weekend is GIADEC, the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Industry. Kwame Nkrumah dreamt about an integrated diamond industry and created Akosombo and Valco. Unfortunately, we were not able to put in the missing link, so we still export bauxite and import alumina for refining, further refining at Valco. And we all know that with issues about power and all that, we are stumbling. Now, we want to close the loop. GIADEC is about to establish the ability to refine bauxite in Ghana. And if that happens, you are aware of the value of aluminium, from drugs to aircraft engines, from vehicles to all manner of household products. If we close that loop, it means we are creating jobs in the thousands per annum. So we are very, very happy. The NPP is very, very happy about that initiative. We hope that we will have engagement on the environmental issues, about how to mine on a sustainable basis, so that we can close that loop and create the thousands of jobs necessary to absorb the people who will be training at the technical tertiary level. And then, of course, the surprise, year of return. You are all aware that in excess of nearly $2 billion has already been made in the year of return. So you can imagine the president's style. Other West African countries where probably our brothers and sisters were taken abroad will be surprised at how this initiative has caught on. 400 years after our brothers and sisters traveled, their descendants want to come back and touch their base at home. It is an initiative that the government deliberately took. It is an initiative that the government drove forward. And when the president was flying out to make those deals, the NDC accused him of gallivanting with a rented jet. Now, out of $2 billion, the NDC was counting trips and costs, assuming all the travel cost was even $5 million. Deduct it from $2 billion, you still have millions of dollars in value that the president has brought to this country through the year of return. We have to sustain it, and we are inviting the private sector in Ghana to invest in tourism facilities, invest in training, invest in the exotic things that identify us as Ghanaians and brand us as Ghanaians, standardize our meals, make them professional and capable of being enjoyed at international level. This is our initiative. This is the president's initiative, and we are very, very, very happy that such an initiative has happened. Of course, there are other things that are happening. We've created new regions. We are doing technology. There's innovation, and therefore, right now, in infusing technology, we are enhancing delivery of justice. We have e-justice. We are improving transparency and accountability, and we are building an inclusive society. If you are not aware, e-governance is making some government services very, very easy, including e-passport access and NHIA renewals, DVLA. Now you hardly hear anything about Goro boys or otherwise when your license is involved. And of course, financial inclusion is growing by leaps and bounds with interoperability. But for the NDC's U10 and breaching of consensus, this assembly election would have been held with a referendum to involve parties. Unfortunately, as we speak, it didn't happen because the consensus was breached. Meanwhile, John Mahama is yet to decide whether he likes the referendum or not, because we haven't heard him on it. His lack of leadership and indecision obviously played a large part in the NDC's inability to decide whether they like multi-party local government or not. As we speak, yesterday, 2 days ago, they were jubilating that they had won an election that they were not supposed to have participated in. So we wonder how they can be jubilating about an election that they are not supposed to be part of. Rather, they were damning political parties. They say political parties are violently partisan and not befitting of political activity at local level. We still do not know whether former President, now candidate Mahama, believes the rhetoric from his party that political parties are evil. And if so, why is he leading an evil political party into a general election come 2020? As for the NPP, we believe in political parties. We believe strongly, and we are proud of our political heritage. We have contributed a great deal to the emancipation and development of Ghana, Africa, and the world as a whole. A fundamental pillar of the party's center-right ideology is the J.B. Danquest's memorable saying, and it's on the wall. I'll quote it to you. The party's policy is to liberate the energies of the people for the growth of a property-owning democracy in this land, with rights to life, freedom, and justice as the principles to which the government and laws of the land should be dedicated in order specifically to enrich life, property, and liberty of each and every citizen. We are humbled as a party by the evidence of the influence of our ideology in unfolding politics in Ghana. We believe in service that enables freedom to many to realize their talents. That is why we carry many along in social interventions that try to leave no one behind. We believe Ghana can best develop in an atmosphere of freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of movement, and freedom of innovation. We are proud to be part of the growth of modern media in Ghana. As you may recall, our current president, when Attorney General, had a hand in removing the libel laws, and as president has signed into law the 17-year-old RTI bill, stuck in Parliament for 17 years. And most interestingly, he has also concluded a long-standing review of the Companies Code of Ghana and has signed that one as well into law, shaping a new private sector momentum. We have designed a new system of capital investment at local level. Through the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and the development authorities, we are looking at development from bottom up. Indeed, our policies are making districts the center of development, with 1D, 1F, one district, one warehouse, one constituency, one ambulance, one village, one dam, and all the other things that are district centered. So we want political parties to get involved at local level and build their capacity to influence development at that level. We are viable change agents. We, the New Patriotic Party, believe we have contributed immensely to where we are now, and we don't think at all that parties are incapable of leading this country. We are not a mere election machine. We are different from the NDC. We are ready. Our motto is development in freedom. We develop in freedom. We allow everybody space to think, to speak, to be innovative, but development goes on, and that includes criticism of us. So this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into conference, we invite Ghana to protect the gains we have made in establishing a functional economy. We dare say the NDC cannot maintain what we are building. Indeed, from their record, they will tear it down. They've torn it down before. After they took over from Kufuor, they will cancel policies and they will reverse policies. They will tear it down. They were not able to deliver on their promise on NHIA. They will not deliver on free SHS. They will tear it down. So again, as we go into conference this weekend, we invite you to the rally on Sunday afternoon to affirm our development credentials. We assure you, the people of Ghana, that we stand ready to serve you, to realize your talent and your potential. Better still, join the New Patriotic Party and continue to contribute to developing the country in freedom. Thank you very much for your attention, and may God bless us all.